Hello everyone, it's Paige Jr. and today I'm going to be telling you how to write a story. So if you ever had trouble with doing that, then you've came to the right place because I'm going to give you 3 steps that should hopefully help you out. Or maybe not, then maybe it'll entertain you. So with that said, let's just get started. So the first step to writing a story is to have a theme. So I think having a theme is one of the most important parts to a story, in my opinion, because and it helps the reader understand what kind of story you're telling, and it also helps you with when you're writing the story too, because with a theme, it basically reminds you where you're gonna go with the story and what the story vibe is all about, so that you don't end up deterring from that and doing something completely different, unless that's what you're trying to do, of course. But with if you're not trying to do that, a theme really does help keep you in the spot that you're in, so that you can help write the type of story that you're trying to make. It's just having something to work off of, because I think having something to work off of just really helps in the writing process when you're trying to build a big story or something like that. So yeah, the first step I would say having a theme would be a really good thing. So one of the next steps is to use cliches wisely. Now I know a lot of people, okay, you know what I mean. Not a lot of people, but a vast majority of people believe that cliches aren't that good, and that using them means you're not creative or you just don't know how to write stories. I think that's bullshit. Most of the time when people do use cliches, it's typically because they never really do anything creative with it. So in the end, it does just look lazy or uninspired, and just bad writing in general. But most of the time, you can use a cliche and it can actually work. It's just really based off of how you use it. Anything, most of anything that we ever thought of, or anything that we could ever think of, has most likely been done before, but it will never be done in the way that we're doing it, if you understood that at all. So when it comes down to using cliches, it's just try to, instead of just forcing it into the plot to where it does just feel lazy and uninspired, try and use them in a way where it works for what you're doing, right? Or like if you're trying to make a character or anything, you can use a cliche to help build the character. So when you use a cliche, I would suggest not to just force it into the plot to where it does just feel lazy and uninspired. I would suggest you find something that works for what you're doing and then just use it, like that. It just try to be really original with the cliches that you're using. Like try and use it in your way instead of using it in the way that everyone else uses it in, and then we wouldn't have a problem with that. Because I'd say most good stories use cliches. You never notice because they do it well. And then there are things that don't do them well. I'm not gonna make names because I ain't trying to pick fights right now. So yeah, just in short, that's why I say just use cliches wisely. They're not bad. They're only bad when you don't know how to use them. So for the last step, and I think I mentioned this earlier already, but it's to always remember what you're trying to do. Most times in stories, or not most times in stories, but when people do it, when they're making these long stories, or these 10 series movies or whatever, and they have a tendency to get lost in what they're trying to do, and then they end up completely forgetting and then changing everything as it goes along. Don't do that. Unless that's the goal, unless that's what you were trying to do. But in most cases, just don't do that. And that's why I always say to remember what you're trying to do. And that's why in the first step I said to have a theme. A theme always helps you remember where you're going with the plot, so that you don't end up deterring and doing something stupid. The thing here is that you need to always remember what you came in to do. Like when you want to write something, I think this is the first thing you should just think about when you want to write. It's when you're getting ready to write something or you're getting ready to do something, just remember, what do I want from this? What am I trying to do here? Where is this going? If you know that, then it makes it easier to write, because now you know where it's going to be. For me, when I write, most of the time, it's really haphazard, but most of the time I always think about what happens in the end of the story, because that's where I know where it's going to lead. This is where I know where all the characters are going to be. Even if I don't really have an idea on what the characters are, they end up here. So I'm going to write this in such a way where everything ends up leading to that point, right? And sometimes you could put, like, if you want to start something, you could just end, if you have the end, you just end up putting the end at the beginning and then just leading it all to that point, right? I actually did that, so, well, yeah. But the thing here is that, for me, I always end up learning, I just see the end, right? And I have an idea on where everyone is, and that's how I write the whole story, because I was like, oh, well, everything amounts to that. You know, so if you ever get lost, just go like, oh, well, this is what happens at the end. So everything ends up staying together, and nothing feels different from something, because you can forget, and if you forget the theme and you end up changing it, that can throw everybody off. All right, unless that's the intention, okay? Because a lot of this is subjective. If that's what you were trying to do, then do it. If you're not, then don't. Always remember what you're trying to do. Just walk into like the story with a clear idea of where you're going with it and what you're doing, so you don't end up doing some bullshit and then pissing everybody off, and then everybody want to drop it off. Okay, so that's the video. I hope this helped you, and if it didn't, I hope you were still entertained. I'll see you in the next one. See you later.